The harbor always smelled of salt and rust. Even before the war, even before the ships began carrying more soldiers than cargo, the air had tasted like iron and seafoam. But after the departures began, the harbor smelled different. It smelled like waiting. I was 12 the first time I stood at the end of the pier and watched a ship carry my brother away. He had tried to make it sound like an adventure. "Just for a while," he said, adjusting the collar of his coat as if that small movement could steady him. "I'll write, and when I come back, I'll bring you something from another country." I asked what kind of thing. "Something small," he smiled, "so you can carry it in your pocket." The horn of the ship interrupted us. "Daipa, heavy, final." Crowds pressed along the dock, but no one truly touched. We all stood separated by the same invisible space, the space between leaving and staying. When the ship pulled away, ropes released with dull thuds. Water churned into white foam. The hull moved slowly at first, then with growing certainty. My brother raised his hand. I raised mine. He became smaller and smaller, until he was only a dark outline against gray water. I stayed long after the others had gone, long after the ship had become a speck, because leaving felt unfinished unless someone remained to witness it fully. After that day, the harbor became part of my routine. Not daily, but often enough that the fishermen began recognizing me. "She's waiting," one of them would mutter gently, not unkindly. Ships arrived. Ships departed. Some carried troops outward. Some returned with fewer than they had taken. Each time a vessel approached from the horizon, my heart betrayed me. Hope rose automatically. Against reason. Against evidence. I learned the schedules posted near the warehouse doors. Memorized the markings on supply ships. Understood which flags meant what. But war rearranges certainty. Schedules changed without warning. Storms delayed arrivals. Convoys rerouted. Letters became irregular. At first, my brother wrote every 2 weeks. Short notes, careful handwriting, descriptions of landscapes that sounded both beautiful and far away. He avoided details about danger, as if removing them from paper could remove them from reality. Then the letters became less frequent. Once a month, then 2 months, then silent. No explanation. No final line. Just absent. My mother stopped coming to the harbor with me after the first year. "It will hurt less if we wait at home," she said. But I knew that was not true. Waiting hurts equally everywhere. At least at the harbor, there was movement. The water never stood still. Even when nothing happened, waves tapped gently against the pier like a heartbeat. One winter morning, heavy fog rolled in so thick the ships appeared like ghosts. You could hear them before seeing them. Low engines humming somewhere inside the mist. That morning, a hospital ship arrived. White hull, red markings, too quiet. People gathered without speaking. Stretchers were carried down the ramp. Men who had left standing returned lying down. Some conscious, some not. I searched each face. Not because I wanted to see him wounded, but because seeing him at all would have meant something certain. He was not among them. Relief and fear are twins in wartime. You rarely know which one you are feeling. Months later, a rumor reached town. A unit from my brother's regiment had been caught near the coast. Heavy fighting, significant losses, no confirmed names. The harbor became unbearable after that. Every ship seemed to carry news without delivering it. I began bringing a small notebook with me. At first, I wrote letters I never sent, describing the harbor, the color of the sky, the way seagulls fought over scraps near the fishing boats. I told him about the bakery reopening. about the neighbor's new baby, about the crack forming along our kitchen ceiling. Ordinary things, because I imagined that ordinary things would anchor him if he were still alive. One evening, as the sun lowered in streaks of dull orange, an older sailor approached me. "You've been here a long time," he said. "Yes." "You waiting for someone?" "Yes." He nodded toward the water. "The sea keeps secrets," he said, "but it doesn't keep them forever." I did not know whether that was meant as comfort. Time stretched. The war shifted. Front lines moved. And then one morning, nearly 3 years after the first departure, a ship arrived unannounced. Not large, not grand, but crowded. Men lined the deck. Not in formation. Looser, exhausted, alive. Word spread quickly through town. A returning unit. No band played. No banners waved. Just families rushing toward the dock. I stood at the edge of the pier again, heart pounding so violently I thought I might faint. The ramp lowered. Boots touched wood. Faces scanned the crowd. Names were shouted, cried, answered. I searched desperately. Left, right, across rows of unfamiliar faces. And then I saw him, thinner, shoulders narrower, hair shorter. But him, he was not waving. He was simply looking, as if unsure whether the harbor would still hold someone for him. I raised my hand first, the way I had the day he left. He saw. His expression changed slowly, recognition blooming like something fragile. He stepped forward, and for a moment the noise around us faded. When he finally stood in front of me, he did not speak immediately. Neither did I. Some reunions are too heavy for instant words. "You're taller," he said eventually. "So are you," I replied, though it wasn't true. He laughed softly, a sound I had not heard in years. Later, when we walked home together, he reached into his pocket. "I told you," he said quietly. He placed something small into my hand. A smooth stone, polished by water. "From the coast," he added. It fit perfectly in my palm. I still go to the harbor sometimes. Not because I am waiting now, but because I remember what waiting felt like. The constant negotiation between hope and fear. The way the horizon can look both endless and intimate at the same time. The girl who waited at the harbor believed that standing there mattered. That witnessing departures and arrivals changed nothing and everything at once. And perhaps she was right. Because sometimes love is not loud. It does not fight battles. It does not steer ships. Sometimes it simply stands at the edge of the water and refuses to leave.